India Infrastructure Financing Bridge. This initiative was undertaken in September 2024 by NITI Aayog of India and City of London Corporation of UK. Now, the aim is to develop infrastructure in India, and it marked its first anniversary. First anniversary means it was started in 2024. Now, despite initial momentum, no projects are currently in pipeline. No infrastructure projects are currently in pipeline. That is something which is concerning. Now, UKIIFB now focuses on policy recommendations to recommend policies to the government aimed at de-risking investments in Indian infrastructure. Earlier, there was this aim to fund Indian infrastructure through this initiative by UK, but there are no, infrastructure projects in pipeline for this, and it is not like we are infrastructurally, sampan, or we are infrastructurally, content, and infrastructure is good over here. It is not like this. There is a lot of infrastructure deficit, but still there are no infrastructure projects in pipeline under this initiative. That is a major concern. Is UK not interested in picking up infrastructure projects in India? Are there hurdles? Are there roadblocks? Well, if they are, then those need to be addressed. That is what we need to understand and know about it. The initiative is jointly led by NITI Aayog and City of London Corporation. This though I've already told you. What is UKIIB? Launched in September 2024 by the governments of India and governments of UK. Objective is to facilitate UK investments into Indian infrastructure sector. But since there are no infrastructure projects in pipeline, that is a concern now. Aimed at mobilizing part of $2 trillion investment needed in Indian infrastructure by 2030. This much amount of investment is needed in Indian infrastructure by 2030. And this is, this UKIIB is going to contribute in this $2 trillion. It acts as a public-private platform to overcome structural and regulatory barriers. And that is how it will facilitate. Highlights from the 2025 report. No active projects remain from initial shortlist. Since no active projects remain, that is a major cause of concern. Why no active projects remain? Are there hurdles, like administrative hurdles? Are there any other concerns? Is UK not seeing India as a viable land for, getting the returns on the infrastructure investments it makes? That is concerning. Focus shifted to 8 key policy recommendations. Now, since, infrastructure investment facilitation, that was the key focus area in 2024, but since there are no projects in pipeline, now the focus has been shifted on policy recommendations. It will be recommending on policies. Might be UK is seeing some gaps in the policy making, and once those gaps are fulfilled, then infrastructure investment can be resumed. Emphasis on making Indian infrastructure more investable for international investors. And once these gaps are fulfilled, these policy recommendations are accommodated by the Indian government, then might be infrastructure space becomes more attractive for not only UK's foreign investment, but overall foreign investment. Key policy recommendations made by UKIIB: align Indian procurement process with international models like UK's 5-case model. The UK's 5-case model is a framework for developing business cases for major public projects or major infrastructure projects. The 5 cases are strategic case. First, strategic case. In strategic case, we consider why the project is needed. Second is economic case. Best public value. What is the value of this particular project? Third is commercial case, in which we assess the commercial viability of this particular project. Next is financial case, affordability of this particular project. And last is management case, how it will be managed, how it will be delivered and maintained. These 5 cases should be considered for a project which are not as of now considered in India, and this is the 5-case model of UK. So one such recommendation it has given is these 5 cases related to a project should be considered and should be assessed before any project is picked up. Improve alignment with global ESG, environment, social and governance standards. We have domestic ESG standards, but we need to align these domestic ESG standards with global ESG standards. Address operational risks and perception of unpredictability in project execution. So operational risks we have to address, and there should be this perception of unpredictability in project execution. Then broaden the market by supporting mid-sized infrastructure firms. But in India, these mid-sized infrastructure firms are not there. Either there are large or there are very small infrastructure firms. Reform tax policies, reduce withholding taxes on foreign exchange lending. Withholding taxes are kind of taxes, which are paid by the large investors. Treat foreign funds more equitably with domestic funds. Enhance revenue protection mechanisms for investors. Their revenue should be protected. Their revenue should be protected from being excessively taxed. Simplify repatriation of capital for foreign investors. If they want to repatriate capital, that process should be simplified for them. Create clearer investment frameworks to boost investor confidence. So these frameworks should be clearer. It should not be vague. And if they are vague, then this reduces investor confidence. Challenges identified: lack of mid-sized firms. As I said, India's infrastructure sector is dominated by large players, or there are very few, or there are small players. Very few mid-sized players. Very few mid-sized firms. Only 60,000 firms with 100 to 200 employees. Creates an hourglass structure. Hourglass is like this. Big firms, there are many. Mid-sized firms, there are less. Okay. Regulatory complexity is there. Although India is reforming, many regulatory bottlenecks remain at large. So many regulatory bottlenecks are there, but yes, there are reforms being undertaken. Investors perceive the environment as opaque and unpredictable. Revenue and capital repatriation, concerns about foreign exchange regulations and ease of returning profits to home countries. Taxation issues, withholding taxes on offshore lending make certain funding routes less attractive. Offshore subsidies of UK banks face disincentives under current tax rules in India. So taxation reforms should be undertaken, and that is why probably no pipeline is there. The statements of key stakeholders: BVR Subramaniam, the CEO of NITI Aayog, he said that recognize the structural issue of a weak middle in India's corporate structure. Weak middle means no or very less middle-sized companies are there. He emphasized India's young workforce and growth momentum. Suggested that bilateral investment treaties are helpful but not essential. Capital can still flow to countries like Singapore and South Korea, which already have treaties with India like SEPA and all. Chris Hayward, City of London Corporation, described the report as a compelling case for change. He was emphasizing that change should be done, then only investment will be there. And BVR Subramaniam, the CEO of NITI Aayog, is saying that if UK has such a problem in investing directly into India, then these investments can be routed via other countries like Singapore or South Korea. There we have treaties with such countries, so they can take advantage of such situation. The intention should be there to come and invest. Strategic importance for India, it leverages UK's financial expertise to bridge India's infrastructure funding gap. If the true objective of this UKIIB has to be fulfilled, then we can leverage financial expertise of UK. Supports Make in India, Smart Cities, Gati Shakti and National Infrastructure Pipeline of the government. So these are some government initiatives which aim at building or enhancing the infrastructure scenario in India. Focus on renewable energy aligns with India's climate commitments, that is net zero by 2070. For the UK, it positions London as a global financial hub for infrastructure investment in emerging markets like India, and strengthens post-Brexit economic ties with India, a major Commonwealth partner of the UK. Implications for UK-India relations. Obviously, if this goes well, then India-UK relations are expected to be on the rise. And, it strengthens India-UK comprehensive strategic partnership. Free trade agreement, which has been signed and negotiations are further going on for deepening it. This has a potential for taking it up as a bilateral investment treaty as well, means upgrading it to a bilateral investment treaty between both the countries. Reinforces shared commitment to climate finance, sustainable development, open rules-based investment environments all across the world. Way forward, implement policy recommendations. India should do that from UKIIFB report. Accelerate reforms in procurement, tax treatment and investor protection. Whatever our actual, shortcomings are, those should be changed. Develop the mid-tier business ecosystem to support innovation and execution, because mid-tier will always have that urge to become big. In big companies, complacency is there. That is why the focus is much on the mid-sized companies. Leverage India's demographic dividend for green infrastructure expansion and ensure that future projects under UKIIFB are clearly defined and executed. So hopefully next year there will be pipeline after initiating such kind of reforms by the government of India.